This video introduces the integrated project ecology model as a structure for addressing a range of topics that investigate difficulties faced by today's projects. Here we explain the importance, relevance, and scope of the model and explain how the model leads to practical solutions to today's project management problems. The video is presented by Stephen Doughty and Steve Barron, who have developed the project ecology model and, through publication of this video, claim its intellectual property. It's important to measure whether a project is successful. This is usually done at the end of a project, using a set of criteria that were established in the 1980s by Martin Barnes. Nowadays, these criteria for measuring project success are known as the iron triangle, that includes time, cost, and performance, though back in 1984 performance was called quality. More recently, it has been identified that for some projects, measures relating to safety and security are required, and these are identified separately or included within the performance category. If we look at projects today, these criteria are becoming insufficient to capture all the drivers for project success. With developing standards such as ISO 21500, an emphasis on the way we approach projects coming from methods like the Agile Manifesto, the iron triangle does not capture all these new success drivers. Yes, the new drivers could be included under the current headings of performance, cost, and time, though drivers such as sustainability and how we include people in our projects are seen as equally important. These now need to be included as measures of project success in their own right, if only to justify a quality audit to show they have been properly addressed.
Indeed, many project managers will claim that the main difficulty in managing a project is how we involve people. Perhaps we need to better understand how to properly relate to people working in projects. Unlike problems relating to a task, such as technology and engineering, people do not always respond in the same way every time. Therefore, involving people in a project cannot be addressed in the same way that we deal with task-related aspects. We need to better understand how to effectively involve people in our projects. Many people experience difficulties when dealing with other people. Those who address the problems of including people in projects often approach other people in a transactional manner. We need to develop a better understanding of involving people that focuses on building relationships. It is clear that many people will find this notion difficult, especially those attuned to solving technical problems in projects. We will endeavour to clarify and explain how greater emphasis on relationships in projects can be achieved.
The project ecology model provides a structure within which we can focus our thinking and develop appropriate responses to tackle the important aspects of including people within projects. The model provides 3 cornerstones that allow us to address the important aspects that will bring about an appropriate change in our approach. There will then be a keystone that brings together the various aspects into a working model. This method will need to be personalized and practiced in order to develop the required skills. We intend to offer personal support and guidance for those who want to gain proficiency in applying the project ecology model.
To address the first cornerstone, we need to consider the background and culture of the people involved in our project. Here, we identify culture in its widest meaning. Many projects now involve people representing a range of nationalities that each have different and potentially conflicting cultures. We can look to authors such as Hofstede, Trompenaar and Scholz for ways to interpret this type of cultural difference. However, even within a single nation, people from different geographical areas often have different ways to behave and communicate. People from urban communities behave differently from people from rural communities. Further, within the same company or organisation, people from one department can behave differently from people in another department.
A common approach to management is that we strive to treat everyone the same. This is seen as a fair way to deal with people. There are rules that apply to everyone equally. However, this is not an effective way to handle relationships between individuals. Within a fair and equal community, we need to find a way to respect everyone's background and culture. Such variety and difference feed creativity and innovation that are so important in developing projects. We need to move more towards working cooperatively and collaboratively. This will establish an ethos within a project where culture and developing relationships are seen to have a high priority. Ethos is about a way of being, not a way of acting. It is the spirit behind action. Intention, behavior, and action all need to be aligned because projects are delivered by people for people. In the project ecology model, our ethos is to value people and relationships as core to our approach.
This is a major challenge for everyone working in projects. How do we produce a project-level ethos and culture that is informed by the ethos and cultures of all the participants? We need to understand more about the nature of ethos and culture, especially within the project environment. Ethos and culture drive behaviours that are informed by values, attitudes and beliefs held by groups and individuals. In order to better develop relationships with people in projects, we need to find a way to identify and respectfully engage with the various values, attitudes and beliefs, to find a way to work together as well as with other groups. When involving people in projects, the second cornerstone shows that it is important to consider how individuals deal with change. Indeed, projects are all about change. Possibly the only thing we can guarantee is that the world will be different tomorrow. So, the notion of change should be an accepted part of people's engagement with projects. However, projects include technological change and behavioural, social and cultural change. We tend to focus on dealing with technological change and conveniently avoid change that relates to behavioural, social and cultural matters. Partly driven by differences in culture and background, coping with change is not as straightforward as some people might imagine. We need to better understand the nature of how people respond to change both socially and psychologically, and in doing so build resilience in the face of change. Often the outcomes of change introduce both positive and negative aspects, and it has become the fashion to only focus on positive aspects, thereby shielding us from potentially uncomfortable aspects of change. Resilience to change demands that we consider both positive and negative aspects in order to better respond to the change in the future. We need to consider the role of groups and individuals in both the change process and the outcomes of change. We need to become more change literate.
The third cornerstone recognises that business and projects are increasingly driven by legislation and standards that add additional requirements that affect the success of a project. Recently, legislation and standards have included rules and guidance for attending to issues arising from the consideration of sustainability. Often there is a time frame attached to these requirements so that there is urgency in addressing and achieving these important new measures. If these measures are not properly incorporated in project process and outcomes, then a project will not be seen as successful. Wider society acknowledges that it is important to recognize that resources are limited and that we must take action to consider how resources are utilized to avoid wastefulness. Therefore, failure to adhere to sustainability drivers will affect brand image, marketplace perception, and ultimately commercial and financial benefits expected from a project. Sustainability is important at personal, project, and environmental global levels. At a personal level, we must consider social equity and well-being. These are often at odds with the demands of projects when deadlines approach or cost restrictions are applied. We must find ways to navigate demands relating to sustainability at all levels to meet ethical and legislative requirements. These three cornerstones present additional criteria for measuring project success. They add to the iron triangle that is used to measure the success of the task as a way to address the more difficult challenges to project success. We introduce this as the integrated project ecology gold star model that represents the overall structure of our method to address and achieve successful project management for the 21st century.
So far, we have introduced some significant challenges for the project manager to address these three cornerstones. These challenges are addressed in the fourth element, the keystone of the model, process.
Process is the name for the method or how we will do these things. Project managers are conversant with processes relating to achieving the task, such as dealing with project risk. We now have to develop existing processes so they can be operated within a social context, dealing with the needs of both task and people, as well as developing new processes that address the challenges of dealing with the three cornerstones. This means that our project management toolbox must include processes that make a qualitative and quantitative difference to project outcomes. When we are in situations with high uncertainty, there is a strong temptation to try and control that situation. Many times, this results in over-control. An uncertain situation requires flexibility and breathing space, with only occasional nudges that correct the project's direction and purpose. We need to allow people to do their work, and the project manager needs to let go of control, developing their professional judgment about knowing when and how to apply control to a project. This demands a more facilitative approach to management, providing a more collaborative approach to identifying problems and seeking solutions.
The aim of this model is to provide a range of processes and techniques to support the development of a comprehensive approach to dealing with the new challenges to project success. This will add value and provide a focus for decision making and action when dealing with complex issues faced in today's projects.
Please look for our other videos that investigate these topics in more detail, developing practical solutions and how-to advice. Subscribe to our channel to be notified when new stuff is available. If you like what we're doing, please tell your friends and colleagues. You can get involved by contacting us through the details shown on screen to help shape our content, give feedback, and receive personalized guidance for your specific project-related problems. We'd really like to know what you think about these ideas. The content remains our intellectual property, though you are welcome to use this material within the context it is intended, with acknowledgement of the authors. Thank you for watching.